I want to show you something people have asked about, and I often will open my normal bench drawer, which is in the top of my bench. This is my go-to drawer with all the small tools and the small things that I need in my day-to-day woodworking. The bench is my anchor, it's my hub, it's where all the tools I pretty much use all the time are in front of me to my right-hand side and so on. But what we want to look at is this. This is a big drawer. It's made out of plywood, it goes with my plywood bench, and this is a space that I pulled together so I could pull out different storage for the things that are awkward to store. So let's start and take a look. Look, this is what we just did. We've got Paul's big bench drawer. So this is my clapperboard. So this is how we start every video. I write on here, put the roll, the scene, and the take on numbers on there, and then I slide it under there. It's out of the way. It's convenient for the next take. So I'm good with that. So what have I got in here? I've got some greaseproof paper. What do I use that for? Sometimes I don't want glue to go on something, like on my Vise jaws, so I might take a strip of this, put it on the drawers, clamp something that's glued up in there, and the glue goes on the greaseproof paper. Or I might want something that doesn't want to be glued, and I'll use that between them. What's this little contraption here? So here I've got, this is for my phone, so I can clamp my phone in here, put it onto my tripod, and I can do my own filming for whatever I choose to do. I've got a couple of saws in here, some of my favorite saws. These are the least expensive saws. I've got 2 hand saws. These ones I don't use. I try to keep everything to a minimum behind me, so my normal saws are hanging, the ones I use in my everyday are hanging right beside me, very convenient. Everything on my bench makes it convenient for me. So I have these containers. If you have never tried Options Belgian chocolate, it's one of the very best. I normally don't advertise, as you know, but I've got different contraptions, different tools in here, glues, things like that, and I've got 4 of those in here. I've got a pair of scissors, I've got files, I've got a paintbrush, I've got things like that. So they just stack in there nice and neatly. This one, I have always used this for cloths and soft cloths and cleaning rags or application rags. A couple of staplers here. You don't see me use staplers very often. I've got one that's a cable stapler that an electrician left here, and I contacted him and he never came back for it. And then I have a regular stapler. They don't normally feature very much in my life. Here I have a drawer. Remember I did a video on how to make a drawer? Well, this was a complete video, a complete drawer making video. I made the drawer, I put a tenon on a housing dado to give it the extra mechanical feature, and I also did a few things: solid drawer bottom, dovetails, half lap dovetails and so on, solid drawer bottom. And I just wanted to keep that because one day I might find a use for it. You know, when you drop a whole bunch of panel pins or anything like that, or you've bought some old planks and you want to see if they're, oh, look at that. See, underneath this strip of wood is some metal, some steel. So it will pick up all my pieces. A few weeks ago, I did a feature on this. All I did is I did a Facebook picture of this hammer, and it had 500,000 views in about 4 days. So it's just the hammer that I bought when I was 15, and it cost me a week's wages. Shelf liner, did I always talk about that? Yeah, that goes in the vise. It holds awkward shapes. Like if I'm making spoons, I can clamp this with the stick or with the piece of wood, and it will not slip. I've got my plastic rubber gloves, really plastic. And of course we start the scene with this, but I've got all kinds of things that cannot store easily. And I have 2 scorps, which I don't use very much anymore, but at one time I would have used them for my chair seats. And that pretty much takes care of this drawer. There's one more feature in here. This is something you have seen me use all the way through any videos that we've ever done. Coarse, fine, super fine. These are sharpening plates. They're diamonds on a plate, and most of the ones I get now are just glued to it. These are ones that I set in. This is one I made some years ago for a feature on how to make a setup like mine if you wanted to do it. It's the fastest way of sharpening the edge tools that you use in the day-to-day. And that's my drawer. It slides in out of the way. But what is underneath my drawer, and you can't see it very well, I have 10 of these. These are my short clamps. These are the best size. I just cut down the long ones because you couldn't get 12-inch ones. But these I use in the day-to-day of my woodworking. They're great clamps. And besides these, I've got one of these and a heavier one of these. These are my screws. They're compartmentalized. I don't really like the boxes. I don't need boxes. I don't use a lot of screws. But I can go in here and usually between these two, I can find the screw size I want, and they're very convenient, and then they're tucked out of the way in a matter of seconds, and I can get on with what I want to do, which is give you practical help and videos on how to work with your wood. And that's Paul's big bench drawer.